Welcome back, students. Today we are going to learn about a new chapter, that is skeletal and muscular system. Okay, so now when we build a house, we build first the pillars with the help of beam, is it not? Rest of the part, that is ceilings and walls, will rest on the pillars, is it not? Likewise, the same time, so here pillar is acting as a rigid framework for the entire house. Pillar is acted as a rigid framework for the entire house. Likewise, our human body also have a skeletal framework. A skeletal framework, that is a rigid framework. Okay, so only with the skeleton, bones and muscles together is said to be, is considered altogether as a human body, is it not? So the rigid framework is skeletal system. Clear? So the skeletal system is built by the vertebral columns or backbone. So we humans are considered as vertebrates. And some animals are there, some small animals without backbone, and that is termed as invertebrates. Clear? So now children, we are going to have a look on mind map about this lesson, the skeletal and muscular system. Can we go? Yes. Now skeletal and muscular system mind map. So first, skeletal system. So what is the skeletal system? It's a framework of bones that supports our body and provides rigidity. It's the framework of bones. What is that altogether? Nothing but bones, is it not? Framework of bones that supports our body and provides rigidity. It gives a solid support to the body. Clear? And then, so this skeletal system consists of human skeleton. So this human skeleton is again divided into 5 different parts, that is skull. The first part is skull. This part, and they are having totally 22 bones. Out of the 22 bones, 8 bones is mainly for brain, and the rest 14 will belong to face bones. Okay, so it gives a shape to the face. The skull gives a shape to a face. So this is about the skull. And the next thing, backbone. Backbone is also said to be as spine. Okay, so totally there are 33 bones, and the backbone, it's also said to be as vertebrae. Vertebral columns are there. Okay, we'll study in detail. So the second thing is backbone. It's also said to be a spine. Okay, next thing is about rib cage in the front part. So they are having 12 pairs of bow-shaped bones. And then fourth thing, limbs. 4 limbs and hind limbs. Forelimbs will act as arms and hind limb will act as legs. Clear? And the fifth thing is girdles. This girdles is semicircular in structure, so that all the bones will be joined together here. So they are having totally 2 different types of girdle, pectoral girdles and pelvic girdle. Pectoral girdles is used here in the shoulder joint, okay, and pelvic girdle in the hip joint. Clear? So these are different types of parts which are there in the human skeleton. So it's mainly composed of 2 things, joints and muscles. So what do you mean by joints? 2 bones are joined together. You can have a look on this picture. There are 2 bones. These 2 bones are joined together by a joint here. They are joined together. Imagine, this is one bone, this is one bone. They are joined together by a joint here. Is it not? By a joint. And here, 2 bones are joined together by ligaments. And here in between bones, muscles are used here to join with bones. Can you understand? Muscles and bones join together to give the rigid framework. And here two bones are joined together by ligaments. Muscles join together to the bone with the help of tendon tissues. I'll tell you in detail. So, an overlook. Two bones are joined together by joints, and two bones in between. The connecting thing is muscles, which is connected by a tendon tissues. Clear? Okay, now, so they are composed of joints and muscles. So what do you mean by joints? Two bones are joined together in the joints. So this part is joint. Likewise, there are several joints in our body. So these joints are again divided into two different types: movable and immovable. Immovable. First, about immovable, joints in the skull. Joints in the skull. We cannot move the joints in the skull. Movable joint is again divided into four different types of joint: ball and socket, hinge joint, pivot joint, and gliding joint. I'll tell you in detail: ball and socket, hinge joint, pivot joint, and gliding joint. Clear? And now about muscles. Muscles, what is this muscles? They are attached to bones. They are attached to bones with the help of tendon tissues. Tendon tissues. So this muscles is again divided into three different types of muscles said to be as striped or striated muscles. Striped or striated muscles. Smooth muscles. Cardiac muscles, mean to say heart muscles. Okay. So striped or striated, smooth, and cardiac. So this is what an entire overlook. So we are going to learn about all these things in detail. Yes children, now about skeletal system. What is the proper definition for the skeletal system or skeleton? The framework of bones that supports our body. The framework of bones that supports our body and provides rigidity is called the skeletal system or skeleton. So it's nothing but a framework of bones and which gives a solid support or rigid support. Okay, so that's what's said to be a skeletal system or skeleton. Then, so about the function. So it performs the following functions. So what are the functions? It gives shape to our body. Skeleton is giving shape to our body. Then it provides support to the body so that we can stand erect. It's giving support. It's giving shape. It's giving support. And then it protects the vital internal organs of our body such as brain, heart, lungs, and spinal cord. So it's protecting a vital internal organs such as heart, lungs, spinal cord, and brain and all. Now we are going to learn about the number of bones in the skeleton. Okay, so the skeleton of an adult human being has 206 bones. So an adult human being has 206 bones. The newborn baby has more than 300 bones. The newborn baby has more than 300 bones and adult has 206 bones. How come? Listen, as the baby grows, some bones join together. So when the baby is growing, some bones will join together and it becomes stronger and becomes stronger. The bones are of different shapes and size. So there are different types of bones and different shapes of bones are there in our body. However, they are attached to one another. They are attached to one another. So the bones are attached to one another with the help of joints, muscles and all. So about that we are going to learn now. About the bone. Okay, so skeleton is made up of bones. So about bones, bones are made up of tissues. They are made up of tissues. Then they have nerve and blood vessels. Bones have nerve and blood vessels. Bones are hard outside. So what will be there inside the structure? Bones are hard outside. Outside is hard, but they are soft and spongy inside. So inside the bone it will be soft and spongy. They contain a soft tissue called bone marrow. So the soft tissue which is present in the bone is said to be as bone marrow. So new blood cells are produced. Only inside the bone marrow, new blood cells are produced here. New blood cells are produced here in the bone marrow. Clear? So about their functions. So bone, what are the functions? Bones along with muscles help us to move our body parts. So it is mainly helpful to move our body parts. Clear? Then most of the blood cells are produced inside the bones. All RBC, WBC, platelets are produced inside the bones. Clear? Then bones also store calcium for the body. So these are the different functions of the bones. Now children, we are going to learn about human skeletal system and their parts. As I already mentioned, human skeletal system is made up of many parts such as skull. This is the skull. Can you see this? This is skull. Okay, skull. And then second part is backbone. This part, the back side. Okay, so second part is backbone. Can you see? This is backbone. Okay, and third one is rib cage, 12 ribs. Okay, rib cage, the front part, rib cage. Clear? Yes. Now the fourth part is limbs. Limbs in sense there are two different types of limbs, forelimbs and hind limbs. Forelimbs act as arms, and hind limb act as legs. Clear? So these are two different types of limbs. And then about the fifth part, girdles. There are two different types of girdles again. One is pectoral girdle and other one is pelvic girdles. So pectoral girdles will form shoulders here. This part, this joint, no, this is said to be as pectoral girdle, and pelvic girdles here, the hips, it's joint, no, that's said to be as pelvic girdles. So we are going to learn about each and every part in detail. Clear? Can you all see this? So this is the entire skeletal framework. Skull, backbone, rib cage, limbs, forelimb, hind limb and girdles. One on the shoulder, pectoral, and other one on the pelvic girdles, which is on the hips. Now about the first main part, skull. Okay, so about skull, and they are made up of 22 bones. They are made up of totally 22 bones, and out of the 22, 8 bones cover and protect the brain. To cover and protect the brain, 8 bones are used. 8 bones cover and protect the brain. So rest or remaining is 14 bones, is it not? So 14 bones make up the face. Okay. So totally there are 22 bones. There are 22 bones. Then skull protects the eyes, inner part of the ear, nose and mouth. It protects the eyes, ear and mouth. Okay, then it gives a shape to our face. It gives a definite shape to our face. The skull is giving shape to our face. Isn't it? Yes. Then male skull is slightly different from female skull. Okay, the male skull is slightly different from female skull. So this is what about skull. It's made up of 22 and 8 for protecting the brain and remaining 14 for face. Okay, and then for protecting organs such as ear, mouth and nose and all. Okay, now about the second part, that is backbone. Backbone, you all remember the backbone? Yes, backbone is also known as spine. It's also said to be as spine. Okay, then it is made up of totally 33 bones. 33 bones, and those bones are called as vertebrae. Backbones are said to be as vertebrae, and they form a column called vertebral column. They are present together. The vertebrates in the backbone are present together in a column said to be as vertebral column. Vertebral column. So what it will do, which protects the spinal cord, which will protects the spinal cord. Clear? And then this vertebral column forms the main axis of skeleton. This vertebral column, no, that will act as a main pillar for the skeleton, main axis of the skeleton. Clear? Then joints between two vertebrae. You remember the backbone part. So the joints between two vertebrae have an intervertebral disc. In between two vertebrates, there will be an intervertebral disc. Clear? And then this vertebrates, individual vertebrates cannot move. It cannot move. But the spine has some flexibility. So that's why we can move like this. Can you understand? So this is what about backbone. Yes children, now about the third part, rib cage. Okay, so here in this rib cage, it is made up of 12 pairs of bow-shaped bones. 12 pairs of bow-shaped bones. 12 pairs are there. And what it will do? It protects the heart and lungs. It protects the heart and lungs. And about this structure, the first rib, no, here, it is the shortest. It is the shortest rib and it is most curved rib. It is the most curved rib. And the center part, it's meant to be a sternum. It's said to be a sternum. Clear? This is sternum. So about sternum, a long bone in the front. It's nothing but a long bone in the front side. This is sternum. The long bone in the front side is said to be a sternum. And then ribs are attached to the sternum. Is it not? In the front side, ribs are attached in the sternum, and the back side, it is attached to the backbone. It is attached to the backbone. Can you see? The ribs are attached in the back sides of the backbone. Can you see that? Yes. Now, about a floating rib. What do you mean by floating rib? The last two ribs are attached to backbones. They are attached only to backbones, and that's why they are also termed as floating ribs. Floating ribs. So kids, remember this central part is sternum. They are having 12 pairs of bow-shaped ribs. Okay, and the first rib, it is the shortest rib and curved rib, and the last two pairs will attach only to the backbone part. Okay, and that's why it's also said to be as floating rib. About the fourth part, that is limbs. Okay, so here about limbs, they are having two pairs of limbs. There are two pairs of limbs in our body. One is forelimb, another one is hind limb. Forelimb and hind limb. Forelimb will serve as arms. Okay, and hind limb will serve as legs. And then about the upper arm has one bone said to be as humerus. One bone said to be as humerus. Humerus will be there. And about the lower arm, they have two bones said to be as radius and ulna. Radius and ulna. So this is what the bones this is present in upper and lower arms. And in the upper part of the leg, it have long bone called femur. It is the longest bone observed in the body. Femur. It has long bones called femur. It's the longest bone observed in the body. Then below knee, you have two different types of bones said to be as tibia and fibula. Tibia and fibula. So these are different types of bones which are present in the limbs. Clear? Now children, about the girdles. The last part, they are nothing but set of bones which form a semicircular structure. Altogether they form a semicircular structure to which other bones are joined here. So they are totally having two pairs of girdles. The first one is
Pectoral girdles.
Another one is pelvic girdle.
Pectoral girdles
Is observed, it forms a shoulder. It's there in the upper part. It forms the shoulder. And pelvic girdle, it forms the hip. It forms the hip. So the humerus bone. Do you remember humerus bone, kids? Humerus bone, I said in the limbs part, humerus bone will be present in the upper arm. Is it not? Humerus bone will get attached with the pectoral girdle. Pectoral girdle. And the pelvis girdle will get attached with the femur bone. Femur bone, I taught to you, it is the longest bone observed in the body and it's present in the upper part of the leg, right? So this femur bone will attach with the pelvis girdle and the humerus bone will attach with the pectoral girdle. Clear? So altogether it also supports the upper body. It also supports the upper body. Okay, and here you can see the picture. This is the lower arm part which has radius and ulna. Radius and ulna. You can see that in your textbook picture also, page number 36. Page number 36. The upper arm they have mentioned humerus. Upper arm they have mentioned humerus, and in the lower arm part you can see radius and ulna. Radius and ulna. Then about the structure of bone. Structure of bone. So as I said, the outer part is somewhat hard and that is said to be as a compact bone, and the inner part is soft and spongy. So the soft and spongy will be at the inner side. The outer part is hard, and inside you can see bone marrow. Bone marrow is nothing but a tissue, is it not? Which is tissue which is present in the bone is said to be as bone marrow, and here only all the different types of cells like RBC, WBC, platelets will all be produced here. Okay, so this is what about the structure of bone. And then about shoulder girdle. Here, this part. Okay, shoulder girdle. The structure of shoulder girdle, and about the hip girdle. So as I said, shoulder girdle, here the pectoral girdle will go on, will attach with the shoulder. The pectoral girdle will attach with the shoulder, and about the hip girdle, the femur bone will attach with the hip girdle. Femur bone will attach with the hip girdle. So this is what about the picture, structure of bone, shoulder girdle and hip girdle. Now about the second part of the lesson, that is joints. Okay, so about joints. When you kick a football, how a leg moves, the movement, is it similar to the arm movement? Is it similar to the arm movement? Can it be done in the same way? Listen. Some parts of a body can move while others cannot move. Okay, some parts of the body can move to some extent. Is it not? Freely it can be moved, and some others cannot move. So the movement might be bending, twisting, lifting. The movement might be bending, twisting or lifting. So the ability to bend our arms and legs makes it easy to do different things. So since we are able to move our arms and legs, we can do many things easily, isn't it? Yes. So about this is done because of joints. So what is this joints? Two bones are joined together. Two bones are joined together at joints. So two bones are connected by joints. Clear? This part is a joint. So likewise, there are many joints in our body. These bones bend at joints. So what will happen in the joint position? Bones will bend at joints. Bones will bend at joints. Clear? Now, so there are two different types of joint, immovable and movable. Immovable joint and movable joint. So skull is there in the immovable joint. Immovable skull bone, no, the bone which is present in the skull is an immovable joint. We cannot move, we can move to some extent but not entirely and all, is it not? So it is an immovable joint. And then movable joint. There are different types of movable joint termed as ball and socket, hinge joint, pivot joint and gliding joint. So we are going to learn about all the different types of joint in detail. Listen children, the joints in the skull are called immovable joints as it cannot move. Clear? The second type of joint is movable joint. All other joints which are able to move are termed as movable joint. So there are two different types of joint, immovable joint and movable joint. So about movable joint, there are four different types of movable joint: ball and socket, hinge, pivot and gliding. So we are going to learn about all the four different types in detail. Now children, about the ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint. So the ball shaped end of one joint, one bone. The ball shaped end of one bone. Okay, what it will do, it will go and fit into the cup. It will go and fit into the cup shaped socket. Cup shaped socket of other. So imagine here the ball is placed inside the cup. Is it not? Now this ball, it can be moved. It can be moved in any motion. It can be moved in any direction. Is it not? Huh? So this is what? It allows a movement in one direction, and that type of movement is said to be as rotary motion. And for example, this type of motion is present in, movement is present in hip and shoulder. Here, this part, we are able to rotate like this and anti-clockwise. Is it not? Everything is possible. So this is what ball and socket joint. So here you have taken the ball separately, you are just fixing it in the, so this ball is considered to be as one bone end. Okay, one bone end which will go and fit with the cup. Cup is the other bone end. Okay, fits into the cup shaped socket of other bone. So this is one bone and this is one bone. So these two things will go and fit together, and so that this part can be moved in a circular wise, clockwise and anti-clockwise, both the things it can move, rotated. Clear? So this is what about rotary motion. For example, hip and shoulder joints are examples. Can you understand? Yes. Yes children, so now the ball and socket joint is an experimental activity which is shown for you. Okay, and now about the second thing, hinge joint. So about the hinge joint, kids, you would have remember about the door. The door is attached to the wall by means of hinge or metal clips. Is it not? So that the door can either be open or closed with the help of the hinges or metal clips. So similar to the door hinge movement, here the panel of the door opens and closes only in one direction. Is it not? It is used to open and close only in one direction. So similar, we have a similar hinge joints in our body like elbows, fingers, knees and toes. Okay, so here the movement will always be in one direction. The movements will always be in one direction. So this is one example for hinge joint. Now about the third joint, that is pivot joint. Okay, so pivot joint is present between the skull and the backbone. Where? Between the skull and the backbone. The type of joint is present there. So what it will do? It allows sideways as well as up and down movement. We can move our neck in sideways like this, and then up and down and in sideways. Isn't it? That's what. It allows sideways as well as up and down movement. That's why neck can move in all direction. It is also called as rotary joint. So this is one example of pivot joint. Neck is the example of pivot joint. About the fourth type of joint, that is gliding joint. So this gliding joint is present in our wrist, and ankles. The foot and leg joined together, that ankles. So Gliding joint is present in our wrist and ankles. It has gliding joint. Bones in such a joint can glide in one direction. So, the bones which are present in the gliding joint can glide in one direction. What do you mean by the word glide? It can move smoothly. It can move smoothly. Okay. So, these joints are also present in backbone. They are also present in the backbone. They are also present in the backbone. Gliding joint help the backbone to bend and twist. So, we are able to bend and we are able to twist to some extent. That is because of this gliding joint which is present in the backbone to bend and twist. And it is also called as a planar joint. Planar joint. Children, an experimental activity about the gliding joint. Gliding joint just now I mentioned, right? So, here as like your bones, two similar bones are present in your backbone. Two similar bones are present in your backbone which are connected together by the backbone vertebral columns. Backbone vertebral columns, it's connected together, and then the similar bones which are present one above the other are able to glide. To some extent they can move smoothly. They can glide one above the other, so that you are able to bend. You are able to bend and twist to some extent. Clear? So, this is what an experimental activity about gliding joint. Clear? I taught you two different types of experimental activity, that is ball and socket and gliding joint. Is that not? I said to you. Now, for you, I am going to give you an activity. Okay. So, that is, you are going to find out in the wrist, the respective joint which is present in the wrist. What is that joint? Name of the joint. That you are going to find out by doing two different activities. Listen, it's a complex joint. Wrist is a complex joint. Why? Listen, there are bridges. This wrist is a position where it bridge hand to the forearm. Hands to the forearm. And then it's a collection of multiple bones. Wrist is a collection of multiple bones and joints. So, we are going to learn about that. They are having totally 8 carpal bones and in the proximal position 5 metacarpal bones. So, 8 plus 5, that is 13 bones are present there. 8 carpal and 5 metacarpal. And then you are going to find out the joint which is present in the wrist by doing two activities. One is wrist stretching activity. The first one is wrist stretching activity. Keep any object in your hand. Keep any object in your hand, might be a book or scale or anything. Okay, so that your wrist should be stretched. Your wrist should be stretched. Clear? Your wrist should be stretched. In such a way you want to do, and you are going to give me the report about the respective joint which is present in the wrist. That is number 1. Number 2, you are going to do hooked wrist position. Hooked wrist position in sense, might be if you are writing with a pencil or pen like this, you will bend your fingers, right? Hooked wrist position. So, do that while you are writing, and with your pen or pencil you observe what joint is present in your wrist. Clear? So, you are going to submit to me a report about, by doing this two activity, what you found at last. What are the different types of, what are the respective joint which is present in the wrist, that you are going to report to me as in a form of a table and submit in the email, your respective class mail ID. Clear? Now about the last part of the chapter, that is muscles. Okay, so what do you mean by muscles? A muscle is a special type of tissue that can expand and contract like an elastic band. It can expand and contract like an elastic band. Okay, so there are over 600 muscles spread all over body. So totally there are more than 600 muscles observed in our body. They are attached to the bones by tissues called tendons. So muscles are attached to the bones by tissue called as tendons. Clear? When the muscles contract or relax, they move the bones. So whenever the muscle is getting contracted or relaxed, the movement is observed in the bones. Okay. When the muscle contracts, the bones are pulled close to each other. Mean to say, when you are, for example, if you are bending your knee, automatically because of the contraction, your leg becomes shorter. Is it not? Contraction. When we extend our leg, the muscles relax and becomes longer. Is it not? When we are extending, the muscles relax and it becomes longer. That's what. Muscle help us to move, maintain our posture and do work with our hands. So it is helpful for doing our work with our hands. Then half of the body weight is made up of muscles. So the weight of a body, half of the body weight is only because of the muscles. So this is what about muscles. So 3 different types of muscles. So we are going to learn about that in detail now. Our muscular system consists 3 different types of muscles. Okay. So first one is striped or striated muscles. Second is smooth muscle and third one is cardiac muscle. So let me teach you one by one. So the first one is striped or striated muscle. These type of muscles have stripes on the body. They have stripes on the body. Therefore, they are called as striped or striated muscles. They are also known as voluntary muscles. The striped muscle is also said to be as voluntary muscles. So they are present in our arms, legs, hands and feet. So this is about the first muscle, striped or striated muscle. The second type of the muscle, that is smooth muscle. Smooth muscle. So it do not have stripes as like striped muscle. They do not have stripes. These type of muscles are not under our control. The muscles are not under our control. In sense, we cannot control the muscles that are responsible for the heartbeat or movement of food or breathing and all. Is that not? So it is not under our control. Those type of the muscles are said to be as smooth muscles. And here this is also said to be as involuntary muscles. Whereas striped muscles are termed as voluntary muscles and smooth muscles are said to be as involuntary muscles. And about this muscle, we cannot control the muscles that are responsible for heartbeat, movement of food or breathe. Is it not? So that type of the muscle is said to be a smooth muscle. And then the muscles work on their own and they are controlled by brain and spinal cord. The muscles are controlled by the brain and spinal cord. Okay. So this is what about the second type, smooth muscle. The third type of the muscle, that is cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle. So cardiac, word mean to say heart. Is it not? So these muscles are observed in the heart. Heart is made up of cardiac muscles. Heart is made up of cardiac muscles. These muscles are not attached to any bone. They are not attached to any bone. It keep working 24 hours. Okay, these muscles will work all 24 hours. 24 hours a day throughout our lifetime. So these muscles are very strong and they don't get tired, and they are also called to be as involuntary. Okay, also involuntary in nature. So basically these muscles are observed in the heart and it keeps working entirely for 24 hours. They are very strong and they don't get tired, and they are also said to be as involuntary muscles. So this is what about the 3 different types of muscle: striped or striated, smooth and cardiac muscle. So now bones and muscles together perform important functions of the body. So both the things we have learned, is it not? What are the different types of muscles, what are the different types of joints, and what are the different parts observed in the human skeletal system? All the things we have learned, is it not? Then regular exercises keep the muscle healthy in good condition. Okay, so this is what about the entire chapter, skeletal and muscular system. So students, with this we have come to an end of this chapter. So do the activity and submit to the respective class mail ID, study well, and that's all with this unit. Thank you students.